ראשון.
Mark Levin, thank you so much for being with us today.
Great honor, thank you. I love watching your channel, by the way.
So what do you think about the pressure that the Biden administration is putting on Israel to end the war? Instead, the Biden administration pushing for a fast international plan to establish a Palestinian state as soon as possible. How should Israel work with the American government under this pressure?
Well, first of all, that's absolute insanity. Unless Israel wants to commit suicide, it should never listen to the Biden administration. And you see, he is absolutely the worst president in American history for Americans. And so he's the worst president in American history for Israelis. Let me explain. This two-state solution is a final solution for Israel, especially given what's been taking place. You have an administration, the Biden administration, that is meeting with terrorists. You see him meeting with and talking to the head of Qatar, which has funded Hammas. Qatar is the main funder, along with Iran, of Hammas. That is shameful.
What do you think Biden should have done differently?
Resigned. That would have been a good start right there. Biden is really speeding towards the finish line with this push for a Palestinian state. As I said, there can be a Palestinian state. It's called Jordan. You want a Palestinian state? It's right there. It's called Jordan. You got your Palestinian state. But the truth is, Biden is not going to listen to me. He's not going to listen to you folks. He's not going to listen to anybody except the radicals who are pushing this agenda. And many of them, just so people understand, are from the Obama administration.
מרק דואג להסביר לעולם מה הבעיה עם הממשל האמריקאי הנוכחי והיחס לישראל, ולא פחות מכך, איך הממשל האמריקאי עובד מאחורי הקלעים כדי לקדם יחסים עם מדינות טרור.
So you're fighting a two-war front now, a two-front war. You've got the usual terrorists in terrorist countries, and you have American diplomacy. You actually have Blinken coming to the Middle East trying to organize the Arab countries against Israel. He's organizing Europe against Israel. He's organizing an effort to unilaterally represent or push for a Palestinian state. The fact of the matter is, you have a huge enemy in Joe Biden, Tony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Thomas Friedman, and the Democrat Party, which has moved more and more and more to its Islamist wing of Tlaib, Omar, AOC, and the other reprobates.
בדבריו התייחס לוין לאמירות כי ישראל מבצעת פשעי מלחמה.
Israel's war crimes? Are they investigating Hamas's war crimes? Islamic Jihad's war crimes? The Muslim Brotherhood's war crimes? Abbas's war crimes? Syria's war crimes? Jordan's war crimes? Are you kidding me? Is this what a friend does to an ally in the middle of a war? Biden protects Palestinian immigrants in the U.S. from deportation.
לוין טען שדווקא האנשים בתוכנו הם אלה שגורמים לפילוג הגדול ביותר במדינה.
When you have a guy like Ehud Barak, a failed former prime minister who's detested by the vast majority of the Israeli people, going all around the United States and Europe, acting like he's the rational, moderate, peacemaker spokesman for the Israeli people, where he spends 90% of every interview really smearing your prime minister in the most horrific ways. You have guys like Lapid, who are as weak as they get. The American government wants him as your prime minister because they know they can roll him at every turn. You have guys like Bennett, who basically, I'm just going to be honest, kind of a chameleon. He'll take whatever side he needs to take to become prime minister. But you have these three stooges and others saying what they say outside the United States, in Europe, published by Arab press, Palestinian press, by the heinous elements of the American press. They are giving cover. They're giving support. And I want the Israeli people and those three to know, to the anti-Semites in the United States of America, to the Democrat Party in the United States of America, their war on Netanyahu is a war on Israel.
Do you think the White House is dealing with Benny Gantz and Yair Lapid behind the scenes to prepare for the day after Netanyahu?
Why are they dealing with Lapid and Gantz? It's because that's who they want. And so I'd say to the people of Israel, if Joe Biden wants Lapid or Gantz, you better open your eyes very, very wide. You know, Gantz looks like a Hollywood figure. He's a former general, good-looking guy, walks like John Wayne, but he's not John Wayne. He's not John Wayne. Lapid looks like what he used to look like. No offense, we're both on TV. He looks like a TV commentator. He's way over his head. These two guys could not lead Israel through this. You don't have, in my view, another known or significant leader so-called in Israel, who could do what Netanyahu's doing.
What do you think about the aid plan that the Senate wants to pass?
The Republicans know they can't pass it this way. Okay, so they break it out and say, okay, just funding for Israel. So Biden says, no, I want all the rest of it. Israel's just a piece of it. And by the way, a small piece of it. So 14 billion, 17 billion for Israel, that's not even a grain of sand in the Sahara. It's so ridiculous.
Thomas Friedman, how much damage does he do?
Why would Thomas Friedman work for the New York Times? Because he's a self-hater, that's why. And the things that he writes has influenced in the Biden administration and the Democrat Party, even though I find his columns to barely be literate, quite frankly. A guy who sits on his ass in his office at the Holocaust-denying New York Times, sitting there deciding what the Middle East should look like. Well, who voted for him? Who elected him? Nobody.
What do you think will happen in the U.S. election in November?
Well, I'm not Nostradamus. I'll give it a shot. I hope Trump wins, but they're trying to put him in prison. That's the problem with the Marxist left. That's what they do. So he's fighting that. But that said, I think Trump will win ultimately. I pray to God.
לוין מדגיש את התמיכה הרחבה של האמריקאים בישראל.
The vast majority of the American people stand with Israel. It doesn't matter what they march in New York or march in LA or march in Washington, D.C. There's a big America out there from sea to shining sea. And all the people in the middle, I dare say 80 to 90%, they're not talking river to the sea. They're not talking like this at all. They're not marching in the streets about obliterating the Jews or anything like this. They are pro-Israel, the vast majority of America.
Mark Levin, thank you so much for this interview. Much appreciated. We love you here in Israel, and we hope to see you in Israel as soon as possible. Take care.
God bless you. We thank you very, very much.